Hello. Lunch is we're keeping lunch, right, at bay. So we control how long we can keep it at bay. No, good afternoon. I think when Mukesh asked me to speak on or moderate on a topic called practical innovation, I think Jugaad comes to my mind, right? Like that Jugaad is practical innovation, but does it get you far? Does it not get you far? And we'll unpack some of that. So thank you again. Today's panel is all about practical innovation. What is it? What do we build at scale? What I'm hoping is as we introduce, you'll actually share examples that you've seen succeed and fail. How far does one push innovation to failure, and how does one use it to advantage, right? So I'm going to start here, Shiva, with you. An incubator leader, strategist, and shaping how founders learn. And same thing, Tripti, right? Innovator. Shiva, you built incubators and supported innovation at scale. But what's one framework or ritual that you've seen consistently that converts early stage chaos into clarity?
Okay, so um, I'll start with my beginning. I started my journey long back in 2006. I'm sitting at a place, like I started with my only place I worked was I'm Lucknow. So I'm back here after 5 years, nostalgic. But yes, it's been a wonderful journey being a consultant, researcher, and uh, incubation facilitator, because I've seen that startups, when you say jugaad, I can quite relate. Startups with their first idea cracking and going ahead has never happened. In my journey with meeting thousands of startups, the successful entrepreneurs have been people who really sense what is required and they change themselves, figure out something, be frugal, and pivot and move ahead. There have been startups who have done pivot for 4 times, 5 times, and they have done brilliantly. If you see the success stories of the world, and if I come back to our Indian economy, you talk about Policy Bazaar, you talk about even Paytm, what they started with. So every founder who is able to sense what is there and being a very good person in doing a jugaad and a frugal person definitely can succeed. That has been, you can say, my heuristic feeling, and that's what I've observed while looking into multiple business ideas. That's what I can add right now.
So,
Yeah.
Vijay, to you on that, as an investor who's invested over 50 plus startups, do you bet on the founder straight up, or and then say, okay, pivot ho jayega to her point, or do you want to have clarity or practical innovation in the idea at the stage of investment?
Yeah. See, as you said, we have invested in 50 plus startups, and at the stage when we invest, it's mostly up to Series A, right? And that point of time, the businesses are definitely the criteria in which we definitely position our thesis and why we pick up a company. But at till the Series A stage, we understand that companies would pivot. At what stage they started and what now they're doing can be completely opposite and different. So it's completely in the early stage. It's mostly a bet on the founders, the building team, the executive team, which is building the business, and that's what makes the first stepping stone for the company. And from Series A onwards till Series B, C, now we don't expect companies to pivot. We just want them to stick to whatever they have been building and just become the market leader from there. To give an example, there is a company in our portfolio called as Zip Electric. I'm sure many of you have known about the company and you have seen their green scooties as a delivery partners uses, right? They started as a bicycle rental company, and now they are, because the need in India, everyone thought that it would be a bigger idea, but it never came that way. Bicycle rental is not that big of a market till today. Even Yulu has not cracked that. Then Zip, even then they pivoted. And today they are into the electric scooter rental for all the delivery partners, because that came as a request from people that we want scooties which can deliver goods to all the e-commerce partners and all those things. And that's how they pivoted. And now today company is crossing more than 400 crores in revenue, right? So these founders, we just look for resilience. The person has to stick to the solution, be it for anyone, but there has to be a vision along with it. And then we play a bet on those guys.
Tripti, you wear multiple hats. Investor, and I just got to know, sorry, that investor, mentor, advisor, entrepreneur, and leading a movement. And I'm going to stick with the topic of innovation. Uh, how much of the innovation do you credit that women are building is coming from solving their day-to-day challenges in their work, family, friends, society? And how much of it is coming from like going out and discovering that?
I don't know why I should restrict to women, but yes, for sure. Uh, I think the movement which I'm running is Womenovator. It's a global incubator for women. And when I started it, there was nothing called incubation. And it was something called virtual incubation, which was launched before COVID. So the virtual world didn't come from COVID. My objective was to ensure that the women are getting support with the responsibility they have at home. So I know during our incubation, women were cooking and attending the sessions as well. And they said, we can't switch on the video, Tripti, we are in our pajamas. I said, it's perfectly fine. You know, that is the level of interaction we had with our incubatees. We till date have almost 200 women incubated. Now, the thing is that somewhere the definition of startup and MSMEs are overlapping when it comes to women. And we can't ignore that part. A lot of them are already first-hand making revenues, but challenge comes when we're talking about upgradation and technology upgradation to take it to a scale position. So that is one challenge we saw. And the second thing we started working was market linkages, which is market access, which was the biggest challenge for them. And that is where, I don't know how many of you are aware, in 2018, we proposed a policy to Government of India was 3% procurement policy. How many of you know today it's mandatory to buy from women-owned businesses for government? Only 1, 2, 3. Good to know that. I think, and it is mandatory. But how many of us are actually going and making sure that we are pitching in our product to PSU, which is the biggest buyer today? Because what happens, and we were talking about the success of any startup, is validation of the concept and the first revenue check. And if it comes from someone like Gale or ONGC, I think it helps a lot of investment decision for investors also. So I think specifically since I've been asked for women, I think this is one thing which was worked on in 2018 by me, and now it is a full-fledged policy. And we have like a total of 4,530 crore being procured from women as on date. So are we taking all the people sitting here and who are into startup, I'm assuming all of you are, have we taken an extra mile to go to them and say, no, we have this 3% blocked for us, we see this opportunity, and can you tell us what are the exemptions which we can avail to be part of that tender? Anyhow, not stopping there, we're now working with different corporates and aggregating demand from those corporates like Brookfield, TS Group, KEI, wherein our women can come and simply just see what is the procurement list of all the corporates. Like it's a demand aggregation platform which we have created called VNES, which was supported by HDFC also. Simply a woman can come and see what is a procurement list, and they can tell us that this is where we can pitch in or we can, supply, and we negotiate all the deal for them.
It's a very interesting point you mentioned between being an entrepreneur and being a founder. I think Vijay and me were just chatting on that. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, but the tag founder tends to become, if you've raised money or you're on the newspaper, good, bad, ugly. But there are a lot of businesses that are truly entrepreneurial, which are making revenue, solving problems, right? No, very well said. Sumant, I'm going to come to you. You're actually the odd one here because everyone's in the ecosystem, supporting an ecosystem. You're a health tech leader now who's turned wellness into product discipline. In healthcare, innovation tends to collide heavily with regulation, especially in a country like this, right? And you see all these issues coming up, and the latest one, the cough syrup, right? I'm not saying that's a healthcare product, but what's an example where you've had to creatively innovate within the constraints of the law or the land and without compromising safety or compliance?
So thank you for asking the question. I must say that Today, healthcare as a sector is waiting to be disrupted. And I think this is not only true in India, it's world over. And having been part of healthcare for many years, almost 8, 10 years, I was also part of insurance for many years. I realized that today healthcare is all about sick care, not so much healthcare. So you actually are just treating the sick. And that's where the disruption is needed, a wellness which is end-to-end for the customer. So what we've tried to do is obviously trying to make sure that we can carry that, that journey forward for the customer, both prevention and also rehab in a way for post-discharge. And one of the challenges we faced was even at the stage of, let's say, Apple Store approvals or Google Play approvals, they kept on saying it's a clinical app. I said, no, it's not. We're talking about clinical wellness. We're not talking about clinical aspects because you want people to be healthy. You don't want to come to a hospital for healthcare. You want to basically be healthy in your homes. So we needed to go into the terms and conditions, dig out terms and conditions from multiple sites all over the world and say, look, this is what we are talking about. So don't call us a clinical app. We're a wellness app. And it's unfortunate because, look, this is what the need is. We should be solving a need.
No, I couldn't agree more, I used to be, not many people know, I used to be close to 35 kgs heavier than what I am. Till somebody told me, if you think prevention is expensive, try cure. And India is all about cure. The mindset is, if something happens, I'll fix it. And that perspective of if you think prevention is cure is far more. So couldn't agree more. And I think that needs change. Sumit, finally to you. Sorry, running around. A health tech leader who's a mentor who shaped innovation journeys over a decade, especially with AICs, right? You've mentored hundreds of startups across and early part. And what pattern do you see between those who talk about innovation and those who actually practically and effectively implement it? Can you share a moment or two when a founder surprised you with practical innovation?
Perfect. Thank you so much. And interestingly, when you ask about the innovators, I got to work with such a grassroots level of the entrepreneurs. It's not about the startup, which is under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Me and Tripti connected the decade back that time when I was there under the Ministry of Skill Development. There is one small entity under the MSD called Jan Shikshan Sansthan. This is the smallest ever entity by central government as an agency. So JSS provide skill training for the low earning people of this society, and they have a mandate that's quite different. They have a mandate that beneficiary shouldn't be a matriculated pass out. So it's under matriculation or uneducated, the first. Second is that they have to take at least something, a fee. When I say something, they do charge in 2025, 10 rupees as a training fee.
An intent, right?
Right. So 10 rupees per month as a fee. Still there is a scenario where people are not able to pay 10 rupees as a per month training fee. And these people are especially moreover, the more than 90% are the women who travel almost 3 to 5 kilometers to get those training programs. I got a chance to meet one of the persons studying into the ITI in Begusarai of Bihar. And he says that, sir, हम गरीब हैं तो हमें AC में रहने का हक नहीं है क्या? So he has an idea about that innovation. Under the 10,000 of the cost, he was working for the low cost air conditioning. So 10 by 10 square foot the room size. Unfortunately, the name, the hype, whatever you can see, because being into the government, I know those things practically. This definitely it's a hype. That I was having a discussion with the Charu this afternoon only, that unfortunately that right set of information is not being passed to the right set of beneficiary. And they were nowhere aware about that whatever the grant of the state government is providing. I do run that incubation center is into the Uttar Pradesh. I have somewhere around 50 plus startups who are registered into the Start in UP, but they don't know that Start in UP provide them amount for the travel to any of the national and the international event. And it's 100% you reimbursed. So the right set of information is not being reached. There is another startup, everybody must somewhere, anywhere we are being fined for the traffic challans, right? and nowadays it comes to our mobile
Yeah.
SMS, and you have to pay those traffic challans online. I have one startup by name of Truck Suvidha. The name itself is the quite weird. What Tripti said, that absolutely correct. The PSU has a huge fund. Truck Suvidha is being funded by the GAIL India. Right. So again, so
How do we decimate this information? I mean, so one is information, right? So there's Jugaad, there is innovation, there is ideas, there are investors, there are partners. But how do we decimate it?
Okay, two things. I think we three people are on those sides, right? About the information we are doing, but there is again a certain limitation based on our outreach, whatever and wherever we can.
Surya, I can just add, but today, being part of National Startup Advisory Council of India, I can say one thing to everyone is, if you see the recent post of mine, Startup India has came up with a recent booklet, and it has all the scan code of every ministry and every state-wise government scheme which is available, or funding, mentorship support. I was yesterday only ranking states, was part of the committee for the Startup India for ranking states as well. So now the pressure on state is equal, and there will be a lot of things which will come and consolidate. But at this moment, you all can go and look at that booklet. It has all the scan code, and it will give you all information. In addition, I hope all of you are aware about the Startup India Seed Fund, which is there, which is for the POCs and the innovations and market access, which you can claim from the incubator, not from Startup India. So don't come knocking, how do I
Startup
reach?
India.
You just have to apply on Startup India page, and you have to choose an incubator, and you have to go to that incubator to talk to, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to add to something. It reminds me of a quote from Rama Birjaparkar's book, Lilliput Land. At least for young founders, don't look at only metro cities to Auqad and aspiration. She very rightly states 3 A's: aspiration, affordability, and accessibility. 10 years or 20 years ago, that the farmer's sons would tell the son or daughter, यार हमारे फैमिली या अपने फैमिली की औकात नहीं है, या एक्सेस नहीं है, या पैसा नहीं है. But I think India has changed, where affordability, accessibility, and aspiration across is available and visible across. So when you're building startups or building ventures or don't look at just Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore. I mean, there is a lot more demand that goes downstream. Shiva, I'm going to come back to you. What's a story of and I want an example, I'm going to try and put you on a spot, of an incubated startup that applied Jugaad of frugal innovation and actually turned it into a scalable model. And maybe anyone else can follow with if an idea pops out, but Shiva, first to you.
Yeah, I'll just add to what you were talking about, the tier 2, tier 3 budding startups. I think the government has also identified the sectors. We already have a fund which we are desperately looking for good startups. So as you say, the gap of information reaching to the right people, and believe me, we get thousands of applications and they are not up to the mark. We have to say no, because there are certain eligibility criteria, and sometimes being a startup doesn't, that word is too vast and people don't understand that this is what they're doing is not a startup. I come back to this point again. So my favorite word today is frugal, right? So I'll definitely give we have multiple examples, but I'll quote somebody who got this frugal understanding in COVID. COVID has so many stories, and I definitely quote this. So businesses have failed, some do flourish. So this was an example which really flourished, and they identified the gap at the right time. So it was a story of one of our startups, Colodesk, and they were literally, the office was shut down. There was nobody, like they could not come to the office. There was so much as a gap. But then the founder figured out that this is the time when my cloud-based business can really flourish. And he immediately designed a call center setup, which any office can adapt immediately. And that was like a boom for him. And he made so much revenue at that point of time. That was the frugal way he thought,
Mindset,
that
right?
I will just turn the way around. So
No?
that's one of the examples I would like to add.
Sorry, we also have Nalini. She was caught up with the lovely Delhi traffic. Nalini, can we have you join us, please? So Nalini, I'll finish this question and come back to you. But for everyone, Nalini's a leader with Microsoft, translating innovation into customer success. But I'm going to hold on to that question before I come to a specific one. Anyone else on the panel, including you, would love to share where Jugaad or frugal innovation really scaled into a meaningful revenue business? Any examples? Anyone?
So, see, one of the all of the companies, as I said, must be doing certain sort of jugaad, and that's what startup industry is all about: being frugal and being quite cost effective in whatever you're doing, right? There are two examples. One is a company called as Regrip. I don't know how many of you have heard. Regrip is being invested by us, and then Mr. Sunil Shetty along with us. Recently we were there at an event in Jaipur, and they are setting up their new plant off. And what the company does is pretty simple. It's been their business for last 50, 70 years or whatever. How many tires have been in the there? They are just remodeling, rethreading the tires using the premium rubber, and then making it a go. Once they pitched to us, we were just wondering why would we invest into such a company which is manufacturing and just doing tire remodeling and nothing new
Retrofitting,
about
right?
it,
Yeah.
right? It's retrofitting. But when we went in and understood what they are solving it for, they were just solving it for transport business people, where the tire is the major cost. My father used to run a truck transport business, and then I used to hear from him that today tire has to be replaced and it's so much of cost, right? And that's what they did. And now today they are setting up two plants. One is already active in Alwar, and second is getting again set up in Rajasthan's interior. And they're going to invest 60 crore rupees in just setting up their plants, right? So that's what simple, finding out a problem and then simply solving that problem. Second is Dharaksha. So Dharaksha is November, December is just around the corner, and we will see the air pollution in Delhi would just change all the game. And what they did was very simple, that picking up parali, which is the primary source for the pollution, and this processing it and selling it to D2C brands, which is actually selling using the thermocols for the packaging, right? So now you're killing two birds with one stone. One is definitely the land pollution, which is going from thermoplastics, and then your air pollution by using the paralis from the farmers, right? Simple innovation, simple thought process. And once we invested, then Avana came in. Close to 20 crores has been invested in the company now, and the company is now set, the plant is ready. Now the production is getting on. So it's all, the problems are everywhere. Someone has to just find out the problems and just get to the base of it.
Yeah. Please.
So I think, if I just go back in time, in 2018 or so, I had gone to a conference in Netherlands, Amsterdam, and we actually had radiologist conference, Europe. So they were telling us that AI at that time was, radiology, they were able to determine 80% accuracy, the cancers and multiple such, situations. But the 15-20% that was wrong was so wrong that they were not using it. I'm talking about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, fear of adoption, right? Or fear of a mistake.
Correct. So radiologists manually were only be able to do this 70% accurate, but the tool was there for 80%. But because the accuracy of that 20% was bad, so they were not being adopted. So I took that problem home, and when I came back to Max Hospitals, that time I was with Max, and I kind of looked at a very committed startup which actually was very keen to do the right thing, and they didn't have much money. Startup called Niramaya, breast cancer screening. And we partnered with them. We said, okay, let's go together. We will give you data. You ensure the training models that worked well. You really work.
Improve the accuracy.
Improve the accuracy. Work as hard as you can to make sure this happens. But they had a very, very, very frugal setup. They hardly had any very large teams, but they were committed. In a span of, I think, 1.5 years, they grew from $50,000 to, I don't know, $500,000. They became a unicorn in a span of 3 years. Because the support they got. Of course, it was collaboration. Of course, we also had the foresight to say, look, can we just join hands and give you some data? Because you don't have data,
Agreed.
but you have the expertise. So that's the key. Collaboration and looking at a problem which you can solve with proper diligence and some frugal aspect.
No, I agree. And I think the common theme is, I always tell young founders, I interact a lot with them, is somebody's problem is somebody else's opportunity. So rubber, waste tires is a problem, not only for landfill, but cost. Data is a problem. I mean, it's not a problem for a hospital, but how can I use it? Because I'm not a tech company, I'm a hospital. So I think somebody's problem is definitely an opportunity to use, right? An input, output, simple, right? Great. Anybody? Yeah, no, absolutely, please.
So I come from Microsoft, and you may think that I'm only talking about technology because that's my favorite topic, right? But I would like to say that any startup business, if you are starting, the very first thing would be for you is to how do you set up in the low cost, right? You are just starting from scratch. And anyway, I mean, in earlier model, what we used to do is we will have a website for ourselves. Very conventional, right? But nowadays, everybody want to have their own apps, correct? The model has shifted, and now with the AI, we want AI driven apps for our businesses, correct? So that's the model that we are evolving with, right? So the simple idea that I want to share here is Microsoft has a way to help startup kind of organization. We have a program where 12-month kind of credits are given to those startups, and what you can do is there is a technology called Power App, right? So low code power platform apps means you can create your own app. Even for your learning, you can create 30-day trial and you can generate your app in 30 minutes, right?
Interesting.
And those UI are just drag and drop. I mean, you do not have to be a very big developers. Analyst person can also do that. And the beauty is it is covering all kind of segments, right? You can be a manufacturing company, you can be a production company, you can be a healthcare company, you can be a different segment altogether, some retail or other organization, right? But if you have your app set up and you have your data set up on Microsoft platform easily, then you can at least formulate your business in such a way that with a very minimal cost, you have your platform at least ready to advertise and grow more and more.
Yeah,
right?
no, I
So
couldn't agree.
that
In
is
fact,
something, yeah.
That leads me to a very interesting question again. So I'm going to dump the script. We've gone from software, conventional box, to cloud, to SaaS, to vertical, to horizontal, and I don't know how many innovative names that are there. But now with Vibe Coding, Copilot, CoAssist, Claude, Codex, I mean, I'm not a coder and I built a whole custom CRM in 24 hours using Vibe Coding, right? So the question on innovation is to everyone, if software is democratized, the engineering, with due respect, is getting democratized. It'll never get democratized, but being an engineer now is kind of somewhere finding its sweet spot. Where should a young entrepreneur focus for innovation? Anyone or all?
Yeah,
Their own.
very good thing because recently we onboarded 56 startup for the incubation program, and while I was having a discussion this morning, someone asked me that all those are the tech founder, so the technology based startup. Many of the time you come through those kind of innovation, they might not using the software as a technology, but they have a good innovation, like Paralis, as you see the
Yeah.
Draksha, like one of those things, and Draksha is doing too good. Similarly, there are many of the time it happens. But still, there are the certain things which needs the conversion into the technology, and software puts a kind of each of the networking and the engagement. I believe it also come that what kind of the mobile application are you using or the web application you are using. Even if you are into the organic farming, can you do home delivery also? So that comes again to the software part, the perspective of the technology. So I think it's a regular engagement activity, but many of the time it happens that innovators, those who are trying to start something, they think about the first thing about their innovation. If I'm thinking about the Draksha, that Paralis problem, converting them into this sponge kind of item, then this is my innovation. I will think about that business and engagement later on about the technology, especially software. But my innovation is right now this. So that's my personal
Which is
observation.
fair. Use of technology is different to actually building technology, right? Sorry, yes. No, either
So,
way.
yeah, so I'll just add on to this. Even if, like, what I'm thinking about 10 years back, which was like developing an app was a challenge. Now it is no more. Doing coding is no more a challenge, as you said. So the world and everything is evolving, so is entrepreneurship also evolving. Even if there are certain times, certain things just restrict because that is not available to the person or the entrepreneur at the right time. It is not available. So if you avail that, so that will create a different kind of a disruption. that will top up the something different will happen. It will not restrict the engineers or coders. It will build upon something really a level up, upgraded. An engineer who knows that he may not be used for a coding anymore, he will definitely have to upgrade himself.
Innovate.
Yes. So innovation will go to a different level if things are more in an open setup. I don't think it will demolish anyone's like jobs as AI is
100%.
saying. I think everyone has a role. He has to evolve.
Yeah.
One-
I'm gonna,
one more
I'm
thing.
gonna let
I'll
her
just-
chime in before.
I'll just add, I think I will with a practical experience and the responses over the year. So when we curated and invited all the women to list their products, because there was a lot of interest, okay, we want to buy from women. So one of very closely known person, and it's like, Tripti, how did you do that? Zero cost, you onboarded 1,000 SKUs of women. So I said, my problem is not onboarding women. My problem is building a technology. It's like anyone, Tripti, anyone can give you a platform
Correct.
at a very minimal cost. So what you are able to do, so then I realized one thing which has become very important today is onboarding, customer acquisition. I know through Facebook, Instagram, there could be a very easy job, $1, 30 pesa or whatever you can, but converting that into revenue is a big challenge. So I think the question which you asked, I think where, I mean, today a lot of opportunity lies on customer acquisition, customer engagement, because a lot of my clients, so for example, TS has a huge distribution channel. For them to take up any startup, take up their product and put it in distribution channel because of their distribution channel is very easy. I think there is a huge opportunity there to create and map those distribution channel. I know there are 2-3 giants now who can do this very easily. Zomato is one with the district coming in. They can pull up any product and put it in distribution channel for restaurants today. So I
Absolutely.
think this is one area I see. And the second area I think is very, very important. We have to keep in mind with the new generation listening, if there, I think is our core expertise cannot be forgotten. Because like we have developed something called, we are into audits as chartered accountants. And I see, and we saw in last 2 years, we started investing in something called audit technology, which has hardly been, we are completely bootstrapped. Audit technology means where I was spending almost 5 man hours, 5 people, 50 hours to conclude an audit today can be on a bot 30 seconds.
Agree.
But these bots have to be customized on the process, on my capabilities, not through tech standalone.
100%.
So that is something which we have to understand. Like the core expertise can also still, there's a technological upgradation opportunity available, but core expertise, like Sir is doing on health tech, is core expertise.
Sumit, you have.
Yes, I'll just say that, we, as innovators, as founders, we should not be in love with our technology. Technology has become commoditized. I mean, there is a fair amount of developments already happening, and I think the key thing here is to solve a real problem.
100%.
And that, I think, is really important. And we, as we mentioned, there's some very successful startups that we've seen who pivoted because they realized this is not solving the problem. Let's try and make sure that we are flexible and change. So to me, that's the key. I have so many health tech startups that I have actually interacted with who don't have a doctor in their team. They're in love with their technology. They're only focusing on technology. It's not going to work.
I agree. Subject matter, right? Sorry, I've been asked to open up. Would you like to? Yes, please add.
Yeah, I'll just add to this that, yeah, now we are moving in the world of agentic AI and everything with the Copilot world, right? So I would say it is not the AI who is removing any work or something, but actually it is creating a ready-made platform which can be used for the final solutioning, which rightly you said, right, sir? That we are trying to go for a final solutioning in a lot of areas where we really need to discover, right? So AI is actually helping us build those small modules. So what we actually expect the new incoming generation to focus on, how you can bridge that together, how you can build that together and create a final solution which can help the world, right? That's something we are all looking at it. And I tell you one very simple example of Copilot, right? So I myself, if I have to go and read through my 50 leads, right, in my business, and today I have been given a job by my boss, okay, go through these 50 leads and find it out, right? If I have to create those 50 slides of those 50 leads, means 50 multiplied by 20, it becomes 1,000-page slide in a day, right? I gave it to Copilot. In 10 minutes, it will create, and in the right format. 10 minutes versus my 20 hours or multiple days of effort, right? So you are saving their time of yours, but you are going for something bigger, right? You will need a human mind to read and analyze that further, but yes, you are using these tools to make your life very simple.
I want to summarize, at least for young founders. We used to live in a world where MVP or product technology was key. I think it's a world where MVT, what I say, is minimum viable traction. You don't have paying customers, you don't have an idea or a business. So I think use anything but build revenue, not just focus on product tech, right? Only. And oh yeah, don't chase valuations only. Make their life easier by showing revenue, right? All right, we got 10 minutes, I think, Max. Open the floor for questions. Love if you could keep it short, one question, introduce yourself, and point the question to who you would like it answered from. Yes. Can we circulate the mics?
So this is Neha here, the founder of Ambe NS Wellness. It's from the wellness sector. And since 10 years, my family and everybody is involved with the biotech industry. We develop extracts which are standardized for biomolecules. And my question here is that still in India, the biomolecules are not respected enough. We believe our own molecules when it is FDA registered, not when it is authorized by our agencies. So why there is still a lacking in the authoritative sector for the botanical research? I feel that.
So I think, for one, you are hopefully the expert to answer this.
So look, I'll say that, there's obviously a need for this. It's just that, we have done ourselves the disservice in India. A few rotten apples spoil, the crop. That's the challenge that we clearly face. And I'm just giving a quick example. I used to be part of the NASCOM Innovation Committee for healthcare a few years ago. And I'd gone to judge some startups. There were 10 startups. I had to judge top 3. And we had this panel and we all discussing and we selected top 3. And then I realized there was one company that said, I am doing clinical grade testing. And I said, look, this is clinical grade. I convinced my other co-panelists to say, don't do the top 3, bring them in, because they've actually done clinical grade testing, because that's the level of quality diligence they've done. And I convinced the others and they got it up, it's number 2. And they were awarded, and after that the chairman comes to me later, for the committee and says, this is another, this is basically somebody who'd worked with them, said, look, why did you make them, up the order? And I said, look, they're clinical grade. He said, they're lying. Now imagine this kind of, for me, it was a shock because I would have probably taken them to multiple places. But you realize that these guys are lying through their teeth and they got their award, but you will never trust them. Now that is where I see a problem which we need to solve. So yes, Jugaad, but Jugaad with quality. Please make sure you're doing it, all the due diligence, you're taking the right agencies, make sure that this is properly, completely done with some full rigor. That's what will help.
One more question, just in addition to this. Now this time, it is like asking the capital and valuation. It becomes very difficult for us to explain the need of it because the technicalities of the capital investment involved in the infrastructure, the technology, the machines at the lab scale and R&D scale is too much bigger than it is imagined, and it's difficult to explain to the investors at times. So any tip for that?
I'm going to answer, but I'm going to let Rajiv step in. I think if there's a revenue path, no capital is large. But I'm going to let you chime in on that.
You want me? See, although I'm not a bigger expert into this line of things, but this is a common problem into all of the sectors, right? Where the manufacturing has to be, a facility has to be set up, and then only the production or the product can come into the life, right? As an investors, you have to always see the horizon for investors is always 5 years, max 10 years, right? Everyone wants the money to come back in time so that they can reinvest and then build upon it. The best part, as he also said, about showing the revenue figures or the early traction, or maybe you can go frugal in terms of finding out contract manufacturing or tying up with some other manufacturer who has close setup at what you are trying to build up. There is AMTZ in Visakhapatnam, which is for the medical, it's a bigger medical hub, and I was with the founder, and what they have done is they are giving ground for all the early stage startups to use the technical equipments which are too costly to set up for an early stage startup, but they are giving that platform. So once you have the first product in your hand, then I guess investors would be more interested, because to break it very, what do you say, it's a harsh truth that today investors are not investing into ideas, they're mostly investing into the products or the solutions which has been already been delivered, right? So you have to clear that path, and everyone is stuck at that path. So if you are able to clear that path, then I guess that would be a great achievement for you to.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add to this. The government comes here better to help you, and places where you get the support, like what Rajiv was saying, that figure out incubation centers who already have lab setups, and maybe you don't have to pay anything. You can just go and use that. So you will have to be frugal here, make a jugaad, be at the right place at the right time, figure out the government grants and funds which are free money, but use it wisely and ethically. That's the only thing I can say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please. Can we have a mic here? Yes. Sorry. We'll come back to you.
Hello, my name is Rohit Nagpal. I am in Workplace Improvement Startup. So my question to you, I mean, you were talking about prevention is better than cure. Now, when we are hiring, sometimes we don't hire as well as we wanted to. So can you talk about some of the techniques which you have used, or technology that you have used, so that you ensure that you are building a right team for your startup?
Is it to any one of us, or anyone can answer?
Anyone?
And does anyone want to give it a shot? I can give mine. I mean, I make the interview process a little harder first, so I get committed. I get a lot of slack for that, but the application process is basis the use case, not a generic AI-driven JD. So I actually write the whole JD, what the day or the month of the individual being hired would actually look like. And then I ask them to do an assignment, and then I ask them to meet. So if I'm not saying that they're raising the bar of the interview process, I think we rely too much on LinkedIn and AI-generated JDs where people just apply and then we blame the system. But for me, it is, if you can't define your role well, then you're going to get gray sort of applicants. So I kind of tend, my advice to my team and myself is focus on what I put out versus what I get. But that's me. Anybody else?
I can add to it. See, whenever we hire at our own fund, or we run our own advisory firm too, right? We look for mini entrepreneurs to be hired. Right? Why I say this word is, if I am passionate about what I'm building at my company, I would love to see more people passionate for that product too, right? So we don't hire outright people who are looking just for job. We look for people who are equally invested like us in the problem. So let's say I'm in the investing business, so I would love to meet a guy who is equally invested and would love to see startup industry grow just like how the industry is doing. And then my questions are aligned towards that, not about analytical skills, what tools you can use, how you can find good startups. My questions toward a person would be always around this. And if I find someone who is into it, not there for money, but for a longer vision, and those kind of people. And we love to, like that's a history in our own company, that we always escalate people from our existing interns, or let's say articles, to escalate and become a partner. That's what been in history too. And that's give us confidence that what person we are investing time with has to be. So as a startup, it's always about, there is one more skill set you have to find out. In what you are good at, just don't hire into that sector. Whatever is your worst quality, if let's say your tech is weak, your second person you're hiring should be good in tech, right? So these kind of, then you can decentralize, you can allocate more work to other people, and that's how the team grows. You have to be nimble. You don't have cash. Your ESOP has to be the tool for someone to join in. All these things, but early stage startups start with 10 people. So those 10 people should be the warriors who are taking to 1,000 people's team, right? That's what my bet on.
So last one, and then I'm getting pushed. The downside of the session before lunch is you get poked from the back multiple times. So last comment, and we'll have to wrap up. Sorry, you can get the panelist at lunch, but we'll close with the last comment.
I'll just add one more thing, that adding a practical round is very important, where you share a problem statement offline before the interview and check their creativity, because for a startup, their solutioning matters a lot. How differently they can think about it, that matters. I mean, in a Q&A round, a lot of people can speak about a lot of things, but how they are actually showing the impact to you on a problem statement which you face day to day. That's one thing which I have seen, and I have myself interviewed like that in one of the Microsoft rounds, right? Which was very important. And second one, because I was also part of one of the company which was a startup kind of, and there we had to wear every hat because we are everybody there, right? So second most important part would be we should align them to say something and show some kind of role impact which they have done in all different kind of roles, where they can take decision, they can work on something. Some people might not be good at communicating certain thing, but they can be very well in accomplishing something. So we have to pick that talent for our right role, right?
I agree. Thank you so much, everyone.